Viraj bhai, you want to start us off?
All right, yeah. Pranam everyone. Namo Arihantanam, Namo Siddhanam, Namo Ayaryanam, Namo Uvasdayanam, Namo Loe Savvasahunam, Eso Pancharamukaro, Savvapavapanasano, Mangalanam cha Savvesim, Padmam Havai Mangalam. Namo Arihantanam, Namo Siddhanam, Namo Ayaryanam, Namo Uzdhayanam, Namo Loe Savvasahunam, Eso Panchanamukkaro, Savvapavapanasano, Mangalanam cha Savvesim, Padmam Havai Mangalam. Namo Arihantanam, Namo Siddhanam, Namo Ayaryanam, Namo Uvasdayanam, Namo Loe Savvasahunam, Eso Panchanamukkaro, Savvapavapanasano, Mangalanam cha Savvesim, Padmam Havai Mangalam.
Jai Jinendra. I'll go ahead and share my screen. Yeah. Om Rim Shri Acharya Yashu Vijay Suri Namaha. Om Rim Shri Acharya Hem Ratna Suri Namaha. Om Rim Shri Acharya Shiv Chandra Suri Namaha. Shamayati tapam gamayati papam ramayati manashansam harati vimoham duraroham tapa iti vigatashan samvibhavaya vinayatapo mahimanam vibhavaya vinayatapo mahimanam. Quick recap of our last session on Samvar Bhavna. So, as we had discussed in detail, Samvar is the stopping of the inflow of the karmic particles on our soul, just like the plugging of a drowning boat, which might have holes in it. That is what the task of Samvar is, so that we can stop the inflow. And we do it with Swa. So that is S for Samyaktva, right belief, and V for Vrat, the vows, the restrictions that we put on our senses and our thoughts and deeds. And we talked about all of this in detail, Samyaktva and Vrat. And today we will talk about Akashai, Apramat, and Ayog. Samyaktva is believing in the reality propounded by the Kevris, and Vrat are all of the restrictions that we put, the vows. So these are the 12 vows. I'm sorry, sorry about that. So the 12 vows that we talked about were the 12 Anuvrats, and these are taken annually, ideally. And these are simple. I would highly encourage all of you to look into them. Like, for example, the Ahimsa Vrat, is as simple as I am not going to harm intentionally any living being, which is more than one sense, with the bhav of hinsa. So it's as simple as that. All of us can take it as Jains. I don't think we are doing that anyway, right? Intentionally killing a living being. Once we take that vrat, we start seeing the benefit of it, because it has a psychological effect on us, and we have the blessings of the Guru. Vrats are taken in the presence of the Guru, but you don't need to wait to go to a guru right now. You can go to your derasar, or if you have a picture of Bhagwan, you can do it in front of Bhagwan too, and then later on when you go to India and you are in the presence of a guru, you can take the formal vow at that time. But I would highly encourage all of you to look at all the 12 vows. All of them are very basic, simple, and doable. All of them. So, it can be a small limitation. It doesn't, it can be, I should say, rather a broad limitation that you can take. It doesn't have to be very, very restricted, but start off somewhere, because that's where our progress begins. And today, there was a question. I don't think the person who asked the question, is he here? Kaivan? He's not here today. Oh, he is
Yeah,
here.
he's here. He's here. Yeah.
Okay, so you had a question on the 14 Gunasthana. So, and I had posted it on the group too. So the 14 Gunasthanas are the goalposts of spiritual development of our soul. Uh, all of us are, at the first level, mithya drashti, deluded faith, because we do not know yet or really believe that our body is not me, and our soul is who I am, and our belief system is not aligned completely to that of Bhagwan. So we are not there yet, but these are the progress steps or stages that we go through. So the question that Kaivan had and the picture we had shown before, let me see if I can pull it up here.
On the previous slide.
Sorry?
It was small on the previous slide.
Yeah. Yeah, so in this slide here, you see the ladder. The words may not be clear. We can go back to the table for that. But basically, his question was that, if the person is all the way up to the 11th Gunasthanak, how far can they fall? Can they fall below the 4th Gunasthanak, which is the Samyaktva, where the person gets the initial taste of who I am, and the belief system aligns. So can they fall below that? Yes, it is possible to fall below that and go all the way up to 1. But that's not, what that is not the norm. That is not something that always happens. Going all the way up to the 11th Gunasthanak is very difficult. It's not, easy to go all the way up there and then fall. But yes, there is a possibility. There are no absolutes in Jain Dharam. We look at all the different aspects, and therefore, if there are any exceptions, they are accepted. And there are such exceptions. So, Kevin, I hope that does that answer your question? Do you have anything further that you want to discuss?
Yes, yeah, that answered my questions. But m- basically, what I was asking that when you have Samyaktva, then you don't have extreme kashais, right?
Mhm.
Now, after you attain the Samyaktva and you reach the 11th stage after that,
Mhm.
and then you fall to the first step, then you will ultimately have extreme kashai again, right?
Yes.
So, how can that happen?
Yes. So what happens is, if you look at the explanation here of the 11th Gunasthanak, all Mohaniya karmas subsided. Okay, and the one above that is eliminated. So that's a subtle difference, but it's a huge one, in terms of the karmas. So it's basically where there are two ways in which one can move up this ladder of Gunasthanak. Move up in the spiritual progress is two ways. One is to suppress the kashayas, and the other one is to eliminate the kashayas. And if they are suppressed, and usually when we start off, we do start off with suppression. So once, because complete elimination is difficult, it may not happen in one go. So it is possible that somebody would move up all the way, to higher stages, but they would have suppressed their kashayas. They would not have completely eliminated them. And that can happen, for various reasons. One of the reasons that we have, talked about is not aligning to the deeper goal of why we are doing dharma. And we need to question ourselves too. How does this apply to us? We are not at the 11th Gunasthanak, we are not at the 4th Gunasthanak either. But wherever we are right now, we feel like, we have an interest in dharam, we are doing a little bit of dharam here and there. But what is our goal? What are we trying to get out of it? And, where are we trying to go with it? Is there a goal to it? Is there, something that I want to achieve out of it? And if the answer is, I don't know, or, I'm not sure, or it just feels good, then those are very, those are not good enough. The goal has to be very clear that I would like to manifest my true nature. And if that is the goal, not just in words, but actually feeling it, okay, um, then uh, then it's not very difficult to move up that ladder. And then the possibility of falling down is very low, as long as, we stay on track. And that's the key, constantly being aware of it. So I don't want to say it's like very easy and, it can happen overnight. Yes, but, there are many steps, smaller steps that we need to take. And most of it is all internal. All of our, internal belief systems, our ego, all of those things come in the way. And especially in these times, it is our buddhi, our intellect, that keeps us away, or takes us away from progress. So what happens at the 11th Gunasthanak is, if it is subsided, just like a spring, it can bounce back. And a small trigger, something, subtle that is within the person, can trigger back those kashas of Krodh, Man, Maya, and Lobh. I hope that, makes sense. And
Yes, it does. It does.
okay.
Certainly.
All right. Okay. All
Just
right.
one quick thing I will add is, in order to reach 11 Gurusthanak, one has to first attain 4th Gurusthanak. When one attains the 4th Gurusthanak, right, which is basically the Samyak Darshan or the self-realization, then the number of lifetimes become finite. So that's the key thing to remember. And that's why our goal right now, for those of us who have not attained self-realization, our goal is to attain self-realization, to reach the 4th Gurusthanak. Once we do that, then our past is infinite, right? We have been through infinite lives, but our future can be as minimum as couple of lifetimes, 5, 7, 10, 15. That's usually the number that's given, that once somebody attains Samyaktva, then the number of lifetimes that they have to still be in this physical world, the mundane world, is limited to like 15 lifetimes, which is a very small uh, amount of time or amount of lives compared to what we have already spent. So that's why that Samyaktva is very crucial.
Okay, so we talked about Samyaktva, we talked about Vrat, we talked about, Gunasthanak within that context, and now we'll talk about Akashaya. And the solutions are pretty simple for our Kashaya. Krodham kshantya madhavenabhimanam hanya maya marjvano jvalena lobham varam rashirautram nirundhya santoshena pranshuna setuneva. So forbearance for anger. How do we counter Krodh? With Shanti. How do we counter our ego? With humility. How do we counter deceit, Maya, with Arjav, ingenuineness? And how do we overcome the ocean of greed, which is the deepest Kashaya, which is, Lobh is called Pap no Bap. So how do we counter that with santosh, with contentedness? And these are, simple solutions, but difficult to do because we have over infinite lifetimes, we have trained ourselves to think in a certain way, to behave in a certain way, and changing those behaviors that have been ingrained in us, to rewire, it requires purusharth from our side, efforts from our side. And the biggest effort is to aligning our belief system to that of Guru and Bhagwan, and accepting that whatever I know so far is incorrect and I need the rewiring. So that is the toughest part. The rewiring itself is not as difficult as that acceptance. Next one is apramat, vigilance. That is the next part of attaining Samvar. So the question was asked to Bhagwan, kaham chare, kaham chitthe, kaham ase, kaham saye, kaham bhujanto bhasanto, pavam kammam nabandhai. How should one walk? Because every activity, as we know, everything we do is binding us karma. So Gautam Swami, is asking Bhagwan, I am confused now. What do I do? Like everything that I do, everything that I think of, everything that I speak is binding me karma. So what should I do? And the answer that Bhagwan gives is Jayam Chare, Jayam Chitte, Jayam Ase, Jayam Saye, Jayam Bhujanto Bhasanto, Pavam Kammam Na Bandhai. How will you not bind any karma? If you have constant vigilance or jayana. You may have heard Maharaj Sahibs in India saying that jayana is the religion, jayana is dharma. So this vigilance in everything that we do, and this quote is from the Dasvaikalik Sutra, which is the Mool Agam. It's the first agam that is taught to any person who is in the process of taking diksha. Vigilance is really important. In awareness, we talked about that last time too, that in our dharam, AI is more important. Awareness, not AI, I'm sorry, AQ, awareness quotient compared to IQ, intelligence quotient. And in fact, our intelligence is what really, our buddhi, our false intelligence is what comes in our way. So constantly being vigilant of our actions, our thoughts, and our speech is what will lead to Samvar.
It's also in the Jain alert.
Yep, Jain alert. Yes, yes, Rishi, absolutely.
That is the reason that Sahibi chose the name actually.
Oh, really? Oh, wow.
Yes. So
Wow.
his basically topic was like Jain Shravak should be who? Someone who is always alert, right? About his own actions and about his surroundings.
Wow. Wow, what a coincidence. Amazing. Okay. Right. And then now the final A in Swa is a yog. And we'll focus more on Mano Yog, our mind. Yog is the activities of our body, mind, and speech. And a yog, here yog is not the yog we are talking about, in yoga. Here we are talking about the mind, body, and speech activities, and specifically the mental activities, because we are constantly either doing Artha Dhyaan or Raudra Dhyaan. We are constantly doing Dhyaan, but it's the negative type, and that's because of our mithyatva, which is embedded in us, and that drives everything. So Artha Dhyaan is when there is a loss of any object, person, or situation, or we have to live with something undesirable, and any kind of situation where we are uncomfortable or not liking it. And Raudra Dhyaan is excessive. It's an extreme form of constantly planning in our minds, for violence or lying or stealing, hoarding, lusting, all of these things. So, hopefully Raudra Dhyaan is not something that we are experiencing on a daily basis, but Artha Dhyaan is always going on. It's like a trajectory that's going on in parallel underneath in our unconscious constantly. So that is what we need to replace with Dharma Dhyan and Shukla Dhyan. And Dharma Dhyan is what we are trying to achieve here. Any activity actually, any anushtan of dharma can lead to Dharma Dhyan. And then eventually to the highest form of purity, which is Shukla Dhyan. And
It's,
Dharma Dhyan, yeah. Sorry.
it's not just the loss of desirable, but it's the continuous underlying anxiety that I would lose what I like.
Right.
So we always have that underlying fear within us, and the reverse of it, the fear that hey, I have to live with somebody, I may have to live with somebody that I don't like, or I may have to go through a situation that I don't like. Rishi Bhai has his interest.
Yes, Rishi.
Yeah, so you said, right, it's underlying, right? But we don't feel always necessarily that underlying anxiety, right? So how can we say that it's there? Because we have no conscious awareness of it, right?
Right. So, it's like what we experience and what we know about ourselves, about our thoughts and feelings, is the tip of the iceberg. And a lot of this is manifest when situations come about, right? We react immediately to them. It's not really immediate. Those things are underlying, those fears are within us all the time. And they're just manifested suddenly when those situations arise and when they become a real threat um, to our what we think is our happiness, our deluded happiness.
Okay, thank you.
So yeah, it is something difficult to tap into, but as we do more of Dharma Dhyan, we will be able to tap into these much more easily. We will be able to see what is it that is bothering me throughout. Yeah, Harsh? Yes, Harsh.
And actually, I want to just share my experience. So, yeah, in context to Rishibhai's question, so when you do meditation, so this is my experience. Sometimes so when your mind gets calm, and immediately once you have a thought, you feel the weight of those thoughts. So sometimes those thoughts are in form of insecurities or artidyan. So that weight shows that there is some sort of praying going on continuously. But our because it is continuous, we never feel that pain, or that is the new normal for us, I think.
Yes, absolutely.
This may be my experience. I don't know whether it's accurate or not.
That's actually exactly what I was, going with this. This is where I was going, and I'm glad you brought it up from your experience. Yes, that is, and I think all of us have experienced this, right? As soon as we take a naukar bari, or as soon as we say, okay, we are going to do dhyan, if it's not guided, and if I'm not speaking in between, the mind will drift. And where does the mind drift? Hopefully, we will learn to at least catch that. At least that should be the goal of Dhyaan Abhyas, to be able to spot what is it that is bothering me, what is it that is constantly going on in my mind. And you will see that all of these fears and all of these troubles and these made up worries that we have are really and sometimes you might even spot violence. It's not easy because the ego is always there, the mind is always uh, ruled by the ego, and therefore our mind will twist our even our uh, how we perceive our experiences. So it's a training, it's an ongoing process, it's not going to happen immediately, and a lot of this should be done with guidance from a guru. If you have close contact with a guru, that is the best way to do it, because then they are neutral and they are experienced, and they'll be able to show you and point out, hey, here is where you're going wrong. So so that is Mano Ayog. So we have covered Swa in Samvar Bhavna, and now we will go on to the next Bhavna, which is Nirjara. Okay, so I will have to.
So while you're changing this, I would say it's even like what you guys said, that's kind of like the advance. But as long as somebody has strong likes and dislikes, right? I mean, that's basically the root of Artha Dhyan. So if I have very strong preference that hey, the temperature should always be 72 degrees, and then if I have to go to some place where it's not, that would be a so. It's very easy actually to see that we continuously would have, unless somebody goes more towards accepting all situations, there would always be Artha Dhyan.
So let's. Does anyone have any questions so far? Are we good with Samvar? Okay, so let's go on to Nirjara. And Nirjara is, really simple, but there are a lot of things to learn from here. Nirjara is the shedding of karma, the process of, destroying our karma, and it is the goal of all dharma. All of us know that moksha is our goal, and we cannot go to moksha if we have any karmas. So cleaning our cleaning ourselves, cleansing ourselves is what Nirjara is. And Nirjara Bhavna is what will help us actually do the Nirjara. So there are two types of Nirjara. One is intentional, where we would actually change our actions, thoughts, or deeds, align our belief system, all of that, and do Samvar, and then start the process of Nirjara, which is Sakam Nirjara. And Akam Nirjara is unintentional. It's something that all the jeeves, whether they are human beings or whether they are the smallest ant or tiny jeev or water beings or whatever, all of them are doing Akam Nirjara. But that is a very, very long process, and it would take forever. So for example, like if a tree is planted outside and it is there in that place, obviously the tree cannot move. So if there is a hurricane, if there is snow, if there is whatever the conditions outside, it is constantly enduring those conditions, and just by the enduring of those conditions, it is shedding some of the karma. But there is no Samvar involved. And like we've talked about in that analogy, before, if the tap is running and we are trying to mop the floor, we are never going to be done, right? So that is what we have been doing all this while. And so we want to move into this intentional, goal-focused way of doing Nirjara. And the solution for Nirjara, what do we do for Nirjara, is simply given as Tapa Saha Nirjaracha. So Tattva Sutra says that austerity is aware of karma as well as inhibit them. And, as all situations, when you go out to buy something, their conditions apply. So conditions apply here too. And we'll talk about those conditions. There are three conditions. There should not be any of these three present. And, these are thorns. It's like, let's say if you have a splinter in your, finger, and you don't remove it, and you just keep it there. And, you keep, let's say maybe you would put a bandage over it, and you apply an ointment over it, and, whatever else you do, maybe you give a, hot, you put a hot pad over it and all that. Is that going to solve the problem? No. It will keep getting worse, and it will, you might end up getting pus, and you might have to get your finger cut if you just keep it in there. So you have to remove that thorn. And these are the thorns that we need to remove before we start the process of Nirjara. So whenever we are doing any kind of tapasya, these things should not be present. Maya Shalya, Nidan Shalya, and Mithyatva Shalya. Mithyatva, we have already talked about that. If we have a false belief system, we are not going to really gain anything out of our tapasya. We might gain a few things, but they're not going to be really useful in Nirjara. Nidan Shalya is when we have a feeling that, out of this, by doing this tapasya, I wish to gain something worldly. And it may not be, again, very conscious. It may not be very out in the open for us, but we could be harboring those kind of shalyas within us, and we need to examine ourselves for that. And then Maya Shalya, that is very common with tapasya. You could have a different motive in doing the tapasya, not nirjara, but something else, and you call it tapasya, or the show off that goes on, right? So that is obviously not going to lead to nirjara, and those shalya need to be pulled out. So what is the process of nirjara? Yeah, Soumya, you have a question?
Yeah, what is the difference between Nirjara Bhavna and Samvar Bhavna? Like, we studied about Samvar Bhavna that to stop the inflow of karma,
Correct. Correct.
we do tapasya, and I think is this the same thing?
I don't think we talked about tapasya in Samvar. So tapasya we just started talking about as part of Nirjara, but Samvar is taking the vows. Is that what you meant by?
Define Nirjara. Maybe you can just quickly define.
Yeah. So Nirjara is shedding of the karma, is basically removing the karmic particles from our soul, and Samvar is blocking new particles from sticking to our soul.
Got it.
Okay, so first we block and then we remove what we already have. Does that make sense?
Yeah, got it.
Okay. So the process of Nirjara is given in the Navpad Puja, in the Samyak Tapasya part of the Navpad Puja. Ichha rodhe samvari parinati samta yogere tap te ehij atma varte nijgun bhogere. So the process is Ichha rodhe and samta yoge. Ichha rodh is overcoming our desires. The desires have to stop. Desires are where all the problems begin. Desire or lobh is where the root cause. So we need to remove those. And why do we have those desires? Because of our false belief, right? So samyaktva has to be there. The prerequisite of samvar has to be there. The false belief system that we have is I'm this body, that happiness is outside of me, all of those false beliefs that we've talked about and discussed in detail before. So with that prerequisite of samvar, and with the desire or the desire to be desireless, overcoming our desires, that would result in samta. Okay, so samyak tapasya has to be something that will lead to inner peace and equanimity. If that is not happening, if we are feeling agitated, then we are not doing samyak tapasya. There's something wrong. So a lot of times, Labdhi Vallabh Maharaj Sahib, mentioned this in his pravachan. Is we talk about how many upvas we do, but do we ever think about how much we have overcome our taste buds? And so the test would be on the Parna day, right? So upvas, you might be able to pull it through, but if the next day, you're rushing to do your Parna and you're looking forward to do it and you're thinking about what you're going to eat, then obviously what you did wasn't upvas. Yeah, Rishi.
So then how do you strike the balance of, right, you doing tapasya out of forcing yourself to do it? So there is some sort of discomfort. Maybe you are not totally at that peaceful mind, right? But you're forcing yourself to do it versus only doing what you can as long so that you can stay in that kind of state, right? Is there a balance, or do I like, okay, I cannot even samvatsari, I cannot do upvas or any tap, so I just do normal chovya no kasi?
No, we definitely want to push ourselves into the uncomfortable zone, because otherwise change will not happen. So we definitely want to push ourselves there, but why we want to push ourselves has to be clear, and what we want out of it has to be clear. So it might be difficult to give up food for the entire day, but are we using that time to go within, or are we trying to distract our mind, and still at the back of the mind the parna thoughts are going on. I mean, this is not just to do with upvas, okay? It's any vrat, right? Anything that I am restricting myself from indulging in, all the five senses. So yes, it will be difficult, because we've never done this before, right? We've not constantly done upvas, or we've not constantly given up things, and it will be difficult. But why are we doing that? That needs to be clear.
More to do with avoiding attraction. So not indulging is one thing, but why we are not indulging, why we are not eating is so that my attraction toward food, right? Because most of us have this, right? Hey, I want tasty food. So that should be reduced. That's the goal. So if somebody is like physically not capable of doing a upvas even on Samvatsari day, like where they have to eat something, but as long as they are eating not to please the mind or the taste buds, but to just keep the body, that's still a tapa.
So I know a friend of mine who could not do upvas, and so her Nanaji gave her pachkhand to use only three dravyas in ekasana. So even on Samvatsari day, she would do ekasana, but she would do it only with three dravyas, and out of that one was water. So just two things. So it's we cannot make excuses and say, hey, I cannot do this, I cannot do that. There are actually, this is what we're going to talk about, that there are so many types of external tap. Upvas is just one of them, and all of the tapasya that we think about when we say tap, what do we all think about? We think about upvas, we think about masak shaman, we think about varshi tap, we think about all of those actually fall into the very first category, which is anshan. And there are many other types of external tap. So another one which all of us can do every day is onodri, and we should be doing it every day. It's even good for your health, so might as well. Which is partial fasting, where you would just, in every meal, don't fill your stomach up till you are full, just a few morsels less, and that would be onodri. Vritti Sankshep is limiting the number of food items, like I was mentioning about my friend. Ras Tyag is, similar to Ayambil. Like you can do Ayambil, that is part of Ras Tyag. There are many other ways to do it too. You can mix all the items that you have in your plate, so you don't get a separate taste of all of them. I tried that for a year, and it works fine. The tongue still has a way to get its taste. So it was a battle, but it is doable. Kaya klesh is bodily endurance. So, if it is very hot, we don't turn on the air conditioning right away. We sleep on a hard floor. All of those things would come into bodily endurance. Building ourselves up, our strengths, to be able to do the internal tapasya. So, and the next one is sanlinta. So there are 6 types of external tap. Sanlinta is controlling of the senses and bodily movements, sitting still or standing still in a position for n number of minutes, or even hours. Muktidarshan Suri Maharaj Sahib had said that if a person is able to sit still for 6 hours in one position, they would get the labdhi of being able to predict the future to some extent. So that is the power of Sanlinta. And once the body can be controlled in this way, then the mind also can be controlled. So we go from the bodily control to the mental speech and mental control. So these are the external types of tap. And then
Here's a question: does
yes,
gym count for kaya klesh?
just what?
Does gym count for kaya klesh? So I'm
What
going to
is
answer it by saying that it can count for kaya klesh as long as you don't tell anybody, including yourself, that you went to the gym after going to the gym.
Most likely it would not, right? Because the goal is at the gym is to stay fit. And why do you want to stay fit? So that you look good, so that you're able to do your everyday activities better, all of those things associated
Small
with the gym.
correction:
So
so that you look good or your neighbor look good.
right, so that your body looks good. So all of those, so gym would not count, unfortunately. But yes, if we do want to maintain the body so that we can do all of these austerities to be able to do dharma, you do need this body and this human body. So we are not talking about abusing it, but we are we're talking about staying away from indulging in it and not being obsessed with it, especially the external part of your body. We're not, our soul is what we want to focus on, or us is what we want to focus on. Otherwise, I'll get a remark again about calling ourselves our soul.
Didn't understand. Anush, what's your comment? Won't that be gaining something?
Ansh,
Yes, as like Neha ma'am said, like previously, gaining something like facial appearances, outward appearances, or like
No, going to
yeah,
gym would be like
yeah.
going with the
correct. That would be, yes, that would be, Maya Shalya, because our goal is
Yeah.
not really to do tapasya, our goal is to look good, or our body to look good. Yeah. So the 6 types of internal tapasya, and I want to point out that the external tapasya is to be done in order to aid us to do this internal tapasya. It needs to be supportive of the internal tapasya. So if I am doing an upvas and I just cannot even get out of my bed, and I cannot even do pratikraman that day, then that's not what that is not right. That's not the right way to do it. So you want to do as much external tapasya as it would aid you to do your internal tapasya better. Prayaschit is one of the most powerful abhyantar tap. And pratikaman, we look at it as a ritual, and most of us don't even understand anything about it. Fault is ours. We don't know the meaning, and therefore we find it boring. But try to learn about it and learn the meanings of what we are talking about in the Pratikraman. Even if you cannot go to that extent, at least the bhav of Pratikraman we all understand. If I've made a mistake, being able to fess up to it, being able to say, go up to a guru and say, this is the mistake I've made, that is basically the bhav of the Pratikraman. And alochna, so you can keep a diary and note down any mistakes you've made, any things that you've transgressed in, and submit it to the guru, and they will give you a prayaschit, appropriate prayaschit. And they are really, really kind. I have to say, they have a big heart. They have the biggest, warmest hearts in this world, and they are the kindest. So don't be afraid to do that. This is the best way in which we can get rid of our karma. And Drad Prahariji is an example that is given when we talk about Prayaschit. He was not going into details because of the time constraint we have, but he was one person who, at the time of Mahavir Swami, who had committed the worst of worst crimes. He had killed 5 people, a cow, a Brahmin, his wife, and his wife was pregnant, so the wife's baby also died, and all of those in a fit of anger. And after that, he realized his mistake when he met a Sadhu Maharaj Sahib, and he repented for his mistake. And within 6 months, with Prayaschit, he was able to get rid of such horrible karma that he would have bound because of this path that he had committed. So it is possible. None of us have done any of this. So whatever you might have done in the past, whatever you remember, take alochna and you can get rid of that karma. Do it with a clean heart, and you can start from zero again. The next one is Vinay. Vinay is the foundation of Dharam. Without Vinay, Dharam cannot exist. And the prime example of that is Gautam Swami. He constantly had Vinay, he had respect for Mahavir Swami, and that is how he was the guru of 50,000 sadhu sadhvijis who all attained Keval Gnan, and all of them before him. Vayavrut or Vayavach is one of the very, very a quality that we all must develop. It's something that won't go away if we are able to develop it in this bhav, because it first you cannot do service, you cannot help others unless you have overcome your ego. So it's absolutely necessary for us to do that. And any kind of vayavach would be good, but the vayavach of those that are on the path of moksha will definitely lead to nirjara.
You want to? We have only 10 minutes left, so you want to go to her?
Yeah. So we'll talk about So we'll talk about Svadhyay, and we'll talk about Shubh, Dhyaan, and Kayotsarg in the context of somebody that we have here who does these. So let's go to Harsh. This is 2022 Paryushan, and the pictures I took was without his permission and without him knowing. So this is Harsh doing Dhyaan. He sits like this. I have seen him, observed him, because he stayed with us for the Paryushan. He is completely focused and within himself for 48 minutes, and he also did a Thai. And he did a combination of both of these, which is the way to do tapasya. So Harsh, please share your experiences with us.
Maybe you want to go to the next slide. Yeah. So thanks to Kalyan Mitra like Rakesh Bhai, Neha Bhabi, and my guru, Laktiwala Barsha. So they made me, they helped me a lot to understand the process of identifying our real self, or setting the target that what is the dharam, why we need to do dharam. So for our generation, we need clarity, right? So they helped me to get the clarity. What is the purpose of dharam? Purpose is to realize your true nature, the I, the swabhav, samdabhav, and all the structure given by the Keval Gyan Mahavishwan Bhagwan is just to realize your true nature. And so that's why we have our external Bahya taps that helps us to go in detail to do properly the Abhyantar taps. And Abhyantar taps and combination of these two will help us to experience our true self. So I did not want to share in detail, but Neha Bhabi requested a lot. So I will share few of the things that I think can help others as well. So actually during 2020, I did the first Atthai, and that was a COVID time. So my work was not pressing. And during that Atthai, I was also reading a book that helped me to understand what is the purpose of Atthai. Like, it's not just to do as a check mark. Usually we do it tapasya as a check mark. Like, I did Atthai, now I should go for 9 upas, now I should go for 10 upas, now I should go for 16, or Mashak Shaman, for example. So I think that book helped me to realize that do Atthai externally so that you can control your body, and top of that also internally think how you can get separated from the thoughts of food that will constantly come to you while you are doing upvas, for example. So uh, my efforts were to do upvas both internally and externally. So whenever, because of karma, the thoughts of food will come. But the important thing I learned from that book was not to establish some sort of relation. Okay, I want that food, because Mahavishwami has taught us that you are the consciousness, you are not the body. So upvas can help you to realize that very quickly and very efficiently. So my purpose during that purpose was, so I was focusing on the external function. That helped me to focus on myself in the meditation. So I use unshan to get efficient meditation. And then that took closer and closer to my real swabha, the samtapa, or the peace within. So I think what I have understood so far, that just doing upvas is exactly equal to going to a gym um, for your health benefit. But if you really want to get maximum benefits out of upvas, then you should have first set the target. Why I want to do that? So once you set the target, okay, I want to realize my true nature. That's why I'm doing the upvas. Then that upvas will help you to swiftly progress on your spiritual journey and quickly realize your true nature. Um, after Paryushan, I want to take another example. So after Atthai, we usually stop and we again go in our mundane life. So I think the book I'm referring here, that also helped me to understand that this is a continuous process. So after the Paryushan, I started hitting the asana more hard through another type of external tub, because tubs like vritti sanksep or rasatyag. So because I mean, as a human, I cannot fast for a long period, right? So I have to have food. So what I started doing after Paryushan, I started limiting number of food items that I will consume in a day. Or I started, out of 6 veggies that we have, milk, yogurt, ghee, jaggery, fried foods, and what's that? That's the 6th one. So I started
tail.
oil. Yes. So I started restricting 2 of them. I started just using 3 or 4 in a day and started to have a fachkan for rest of them. So that helped me to actually, so in our world, we also run behind the mindfulness. So what I have realized is, if you do Ritti Shankshep or Rasatyag, you will be always mindful of what you are eating, and for example, how many items you are eating and whether certain items have certain things or not. So automatically the mindfulness is ingrained within this external tub, but they are not branded very equal, very loudly. But so Vritti Shankshep, then I also, during the day, I started doing meditation consistently every day. So my experience is, whenever I do ambil or have less vigai in my routine, that on that day, meditation is very breeze. I don't have to have too much of awareness to focus on myself. So I recommend everyone to, have uh, have a lakshya, have a target that I wanna realize my true nature, and these external tubs and internal tubs are complementary, that will help you to go to your to help you to realize your true nature. Just doing external stuff would be equal to going to gym and taking care of your body. They are just mental and physical exercise, nothing much more than that. So can you go to the next slide, please? And I want to add with one thing. So once I think once we realize our true nature, that is the fourth gunasthanak that Neha Bhabi was talking about. So what I have learned from Sahibji's pravachan, my Gurudev's pravachan. So after you realize your true nature, all the internal or external taps are natural for you, because these taps are designed such a way that helps you to stabilize yourself in your real nature. So when you realize your true nature, you will automatically do upvas and you won't realize, oh, I did not eat today. That's how, for example, our Sadhu Sadhiji Bhagwan do the upvas. So I would say set a target. Key takeaway, I think, would be set a target that using this quote unquote infrastructure that Kevali Bhagwan gave us, I want to realize myself. And Kevali Bhagwan is so kind to us. He gave so many varieties of tap. If you cannot do anshan, there are 5 other taps that you can use. I think only using one tap, external tap and one internal tap, linking both of them and doing it properly, going to the deep part of it would do the job, would help us to realize our true nature. So yeah, that's it from my side.
That was excellent. Thank you for sharing your experience. And it really matters because, we can say a lot of things, we can learn about the theory of tapasya and nirjara, but, experiencing it firsthand and sharing it, and especially, you being the same age group as everyone else here, except us, it does matter a lot to know from you how your journey on how you started off and what your experience has been so far. So thank you very much for sharing that. We are already at 10 o'clock, so we can do a short dhyan for 5 minutes if everyone is okay with it, or we can do it on Sunday. I know it's difficult for most of you to join in the meditation club, so what do we want to do? Is five
Yeah, let's
minutes
take 5 minutes.
Okay. All right. So go ahead and take a comfortable position with your back straight, cross-legged if possible. And close your eyes. Reflect on everything we have discussed today about Nirjara, the process of shedding our karmas. The goal of our Dhyaan today, or Dhyaan Abhyas rather, today, is to make sure we can tap into this ability of ours to shed karmas, to have that realization. Karma is an inert particle. I am alive, full of energy, full of infinite bliss, infinite knowledge. Everything actually revolves around me, the real me. I am the creator. I am the one who sustains. And I am the one gets destroyed. That's the outer paryaya. That's the outer me, the false me. But I want to change that and go inward so that what I create stays. There is unity in my creation, in my sustenance, and continuity of who I am. Take a deep breath, and we will say the Navkar mantra in our mind, because the Navkar is our Swarup. That is who I am. So as you breathe in, take a deep breath, and then focus in the middle of your eyebrows. Take a few breaths where you just put your focus on your Agnya chakra. That's the place where we do our tilak. Just breathe in and breathe out. We want to fire up this Agnya chakra. We want to turn it on. Breathe in and breathe out slowly with complete focus on the Agnya chakra. And now we are going to write with our mind's eye the Navkar mantra, the first 5 pad of the Navkar mantra, in the middle of our forehead, on our Agnya chakra, when we hold our breath. So you breathe in, hold your breath, write all 5 pad, and then release and let go of your breath. Try that once, just writing the Navkar once, first 5 pad. Breathe in, hold, let go. Breathe in and hold and write the 5 pad on your Agnya chakra, and then release your breath. Again. Let go. One more time. Breathe in, hold, write the Navkar mantra on your Agnya chakra, release. Breathe in, breathe out. When you hold Namo Arihantanam all the way to Namo Loe Savasahunam, should be in front of your eyes. complete as a picture in whatever language you're comfortable in. Breathe in again. Breathe out. One last time. Breathe in. Breathe out. Keep your eyes closed. Keep your focus on the Ajna Chakra. And now, without holding your breath, write the Navkar mantra. Namo Arihantanam. Namo Siddhanam. Namo Ayariyanam. Namo Uvajjayanam. Namo Lohi Savasahunam. Esau Panchanamukkaro. Sava Pava Panasano. Mangalanam cha Savvesan. Padamam Havan Mangalam. Just picture the Navkar. Keep that frame in front of your eyes for a few more minutes, or moments rather. Let it float in front of your eyes. And now you may slowly open your eyes. Tithe Rame Pasyantu. Tithe Rame Pasyantu. Tithe Rame Pasyantu. Shivamastu Sarva Jagata. Parahita Nirta Bhavantu Bhutagana. Dosha Prayantu Nasham. Sarvatra Sukhi Bhavantu Lokaha. Sarvamangalamanganyam Sarvakalyanakaranam Pradhanam Sarvadharmanam Jainam Jayati Shamsanam. If I said anything against Jinagnya, Michhami Dukram.
Quickly,
Jai Jai.
we got feedback before Soumya was telling us that some of the last few sessions were a little bit hard. So whatever questions you have, feel free to ask while in the session or even on the WhatsApp group or even individually, like whatever we can make it do to make it easy. Don't hesitate. I know some of the jargon might be first time you might be hearing it, the terminology. So that might be making it more harder than it is actually. But just ask us questions and we'll try our best to simplify.
Yeah, please feel free to ask. If whatever is difficult, there's nothing like a silly question or anything here. So you can put it in chat, or you can send it on the group, or just, personally send me a message, whatever you're comfortable with. Is there anything in today's session that was not very clear, or you need more clarification? Any immediate questions? Yeah, Viraj, yes.
Can you elaborate a little more and differentiate a bit more between Kaiklish and Samyanta? Maybe a couple more examples.
So kaya klesh is, any austerities. So if it is hot, you don't turn on the AC. If it is, basically not giving comforts to your body, not indulging in any of the luxuries. Also, like for Maharaj Sahib, they do launch. So that is a kaya klesh. Sanlinta is more of restricting the movements of your body and mind. So, sitting in a certain position. So, for example, we are sitting in Padmasan. Increasing the amount of time that you can sit still without moving. That is important because you might have noticed when we do the Dhyaan Abhyas, when you regulate your breath, your thoughts also can be controlled. So the bodily movement has a relationship with the mind, and the mind with the upyog. So it's important to sit still, and that's what Sanlinta is from an external perspective. from an internal perspective, it's also restricting our thoughts and kind of, zeroing in. It's basically all of this is, if you look at it, it's a stepwise, you're going within. You are trying to focus, go within, stop all of the external activity so that you are ready for the internal tapa. Okay.
Yeah, makes sense. Thank you.
Any other questions? Soumya had a very nice comment to make that Vritti Sankshep is really easy for students and bachelors. I agree. Been there, done that. Yes. Yeah,
Just
you don't have that many choices.
but need to bring the right intention. This is out of that's kind of like the trick.
Out of that is a calm Nirjara.
Yeah.
Without the intention of Nirjara, right? But yes, I agree with you. All right. Any other questions before we leave?